When I pulled the mirror off the wall in my Airbnb, I didn't expect to find a door. I definitely didn't expect what was behind it. I travel a lot for work, always alone, always short stays. I've learned to live out of a suitcase and trust my instincts. So, when I booked a small Airbnb cabin in the woods just outside Asheville, North Carolina, I expected a peaceful 2-night stay. Quiet, private. The place was charming, rustic but modern. Cozy wood paneling, a fireplace, a small kitchen, 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom. Perfect. But there was something weird about the bathroom mirror. It didn't sit flush on the wall. There was a tiny gap behind it like you could fit a few fingers in. I didn't think much of it the first night. I brushed my teeth, showered, passed out. I'd driven 6 hours that day. But in the middle of the night, I woke up cold. The fire had gone out, but that wasn't it. It felt like someone was watching me. The room was dark, silent, but I couldn't shake the feeling. I stared down the hallway for a long time before I fell asleep again. The next morning, I went to take a shower, and the mirror was fogged up even though I hadn't turned on the hot water yet. That's when I saw it. On the mirror, written in the fog, "Don't." I stood there for a long time. It was so faint, I thought maybe it was left over from the last guest, some joke, a prank. But the mirror wasn't supposed to fog up. It was a modern anti-fog panel. That night, I brought my phone into the bathroom. I wanted to get a picture if it happened again. But instead, I noticed something else. Behind the mirror in that little gap was metal, a hinge. The mirror wasn't just a mirror. It was a door. I pulled gently, and with a faint creak, it opened. Behind it was a narrow crawl space, and at the end, maybe 6 feet in a camera, pointed out through the mirror. Someone had been watching, recording, and the memory card was still in it. I didn't know what to do. I backed out, shut the mirror, grabbed my bag, but right as I turned to leave the bathroom, the mirror slammed shut. On its own, I left the Airbnb that night, drove into town, and slept in my car in a gas station parking lot. The next morning, I reported the place to Airbnb. I didn't mention the mirror, just said there were hidden cameras. They removed the listing within hours. But that's not the end. A week later, I got an email from a name I didn't recognize. Subject line, "Nice to see you again." Attached, a still image of me in the shower. From inside the mirror, I went to the police. They took the image, traced the email, said the IP led to an abandoned property 2 towns over. When they got there, the cabin was empty. Power cut, dust everywhere, but in the basement, rows of monitors, a wall of screens, dozens of feeds, all bedrooms, all bathrooms. Every guest that ever stayed, including me. Here's the part I still don't understand. They said the feeds weren't live. The equipment had been off for months. And yet, they found new footage, my footage, from just last week. And in the corner of my clip, a man, wearing the same clothes I'd packed, standing just outside the shower, but I never saw anyone in that bathroom. Sometimes I wonder if I was ever alone in that cabin at all. I haven't stayed in an Airbnb since, and I'll never trust a mirror again. Would you have opened it? Let me know in the comments. 2 kids knocked on my door at 2:17 a.m. and just stood there. No talking, no moving, just staring with eyes blacker than night. I should have slammed the door. I should have never opened it, but I did, and what came next still haunts me. I live just outside El Paso, Texas. It's quiet out here, too quiet sometimes. You get used to the silence until it breaks in the worst possible way. It was A Thursday night. I had just finished watching something on Netflix and was about to head to bed when I heard the knock. Not a knock you'd expect at that hour. It was slow, deliberate, three evenly spaced thuds on the front door. I checked my phone. 2:17 a.m. Nobody should have been outside. Not here. Not then. I looked through the peephole and saw two kids, a boy and a girl, maybe 9 or 10 years old, just standing there, completely still. They wore outdated clothing, like from the 92nd, but it looked oddly stiff, almost like a Halloween costume. Their heads were slightly tilted down, like they were waiting for something. I cracked the door open a few inches. "Can I help you?" The girl spoke, monotone and soft. "Can we come in?" I blinked. "Why? Are you lost?" The boy looked up. That's when I saw their eyes. Completely black. No whites, no irises, just bottomless, inky voids. Every hair on my body stood up. Something primal inside me screamed to shut the door and lock it. But I couldn't move. My body had frozen, like my instincts had short-circuited. "We need to use your phone," the girl said. "Please, our parents are worried." But something felt off, like they were reciting a line they'd practiced. Like this wasn't the first time they said it. Then came a sound behind them, the crunch of gravel. I looked past them but saw no one. When I looked back, the boy was suddenly inches from the door. "Let us in." I slammed the door shut, locked it, bolted it, turned off every light. And that's when the knocking started again, louder now, faster. 3 knocks, then silence. 3 more, silence. They kept repeating this for nearly 10 minutes. Then it just stopped. I waited an hour before I had the courage to peek through the blinds. They were gone. The next morning, I checked my ring cam footage, but there was nothing. No kids, no knocking, just static between 2:17 and 2:32 a.m. I've read stories about black-eyed kids before. I always thought they were internet myths, creepypasta. But I saw them, I spoke to them, and I think I made a mistake. Because that wasn't the end. A week later, I found tiny black fingerprints on my back door. Inside, would you have opened the door or slammed it shut? We thought it was just a stupid dare. A creepy looking site selling a game that tests your will. We ordered it for fun, but only one of us walked away saying, "If you find this game online, do not touch it." My friends and I were bored one Friday night. We were deep into a Reddit thread about the weirdest things people had found on the dark web when my buddy Eric said, "What if we tried it?" We weren't hackers or anything, just 4 curious college students messing around, but one of us knew how to access the dark web. Within 20 minutes, we were on a site that looked ancient, like 2003 era HTML, with glitchy fonts and grainy images. There was just one item for sale, no description, no preview, just a title. The game. Underneath it said, "Rules will arrive sealed. Play with at least 3. The game chooses one winner. It was $13. We split the cost and ordered it. 3 days later, a plain black envelope came in the mail. Inside was a single red USB and a folded card. The card read, "If you begin, you must finish. The game sees all. No quitting, no skipping, one winner only, others pay." We thought it was all a joke, so we plugged in the USB. A small window popped up on the screen. "Welcome players. Input names." We typed them in. Instantly, the screen went black. Then, our phones buzzed. Each of us got a message. "Your challenge begins now. Fail and you're out." Mine was, "Spend the next 6 hours in complete silence. Not a single word." Eric's was, "You must not blink. For 3 hours. We are watching. Kayla's was bury something alive, record it, upload it to the drive. We all laughed at first, until Kayla screamed. She was looking at her phone. There was a live feed of her parents' bedroom. Someone was in the room, holding a phone, filming them sleeping. "This isn't a joke," she whispered. Eric tried to unplug the USB. The laptop let out a high-pitched whine, and his nose started bleeding immediately. He collapsed to the floor. It got worse. Every challenge escalated. Mine went from silence to remain blindfolded while alone in the woods overnight. Kayla's, I won't even say. We tried destroying the USB. It melted itself before we even touched it. By the fifth night, Eric was gone. Just gone. His room was trashed, his mattress sliced open. The laptop was still playing his last challenge on repeat. Kayla quit, or tried to. She broke down, screamed that she was done, that this wasn't worth it. That night, she sleepwalked into oncoming traffic. I'm the only one left. The final challenge just arrived. It says, invite a new player, send them this USB, or the game ends with you. I haven't decided what to do yet, but if you get something in the mail that looks wrong, or if a cheap USB shows up on your doorstep, don't plug it in. And if you think it's just a story, just some made-up creepypasta, that's exactly what the game wants you to think. And the game always watches. Closing message from Mr.Somberrift. If this story is unsettled, you let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. Got a true experience you want to share? Email us, mr.somberrift@gmail.com. Your nightmare might be our next story. Until then, sleep with the light on. And if you see two